Welcome back to the Wild Rose podcast. It's Whitney Rose.
And Connie Daniels.
Wow, Connie, we have such an amazing episode planned today. But first, we promised all of you something. If you went and subscribed and liked our podcast, we would promised we'd show you a picture of Connie and I from our boudoir photo shoot. Do you want to see it? Should we show them?
First of all, I have to say thank you to everybody because we have so many people who love us and want to hear what we have to say. And I just want to say thank you. And I can't think of a better way to thank our audience than to show them this. Are you ready?
I don't know. Are all of you ready, Wild Ones? Because I'm going to give a little I'm just going to show you. And then we'll explain. But I'm going to let your imagination go first.
The fact that there has to be an explanation.
So listen, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, go over to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to see this picture.
All right.
Ready? As promised, here's the photo of Connie and I at a boudoir photo shoot.
Look how loving, endearing that we are here.
It's like, Whitney, are you hungry?
I have a Tostito for you.
Here's a Tostito chip. Connie, thank you. I was starving. How did you know? No, really, when we looked at this photo, I died laughing because, look at that. Thank you, Tostitos. So we were in the middle of our photo shoot and we were taking a break and we were hungry, so we were having chips and salsa. And Heather Gay, who was our photographer, caught that. So thank you, Heather Gay. Oh, yeah, that was a fun photo shoot.
That was super fun.
So crazy that we actually captured that fun moment.
I got to know you on a really intimate level really fast that day.
Yes.
Loved it.
True Connie and Whit fashion.
Yep. Through and through.
Busting through levels.
Okay, but first, we have to get to something.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that photo shoot was wild, but Connie, what is the wildest thing that happened to you this week?
The wildest thing that's happened to me this week definitely was that I cooked dinner for you. Anybody who knows me knows that I don't cook, really. Okay. I can. I just don't. Okay. Have I ever cooked for you before? Think about it.
You've made a crock pot dinner before, like where you put in a pre-made frozen thing into a crock pot.
I did
chop. You stole mine. I was going to say that you cooked for me.
That's the wildest thing that happened to both of us this week.
Okay, so funny story. Connie did cook me a very yummy coconut curry soup yesterday.
Yeah, shrimp.
Coconut curry shrimp. Don't forget the shrimp.
Oh, wait, I brought...
But it is so funny because Connie, I like to call her a lady of leisure. The contrast between our life is pretty funny right now. Like I'm out, I work all day, I'm running around with younger kids. Her kids are raised out of the house, but she was so kind and she was excited to invite me over for dinner because she recently signed up for Green Chef.
Which I now call my arts and crafts project at night. So it makes it fun for me because I won't do anything unless it's fun.
Yeah, so she was telling me and another friend about it the other day. And Connie goes, she's like, I signed up for Green Chef and I love it because it's kind of like my arts and crafts for the day. Like it's my project for the day. And me and Ashley just start busting up laughing because Connie's like, no, that's called cooking dinner, Connie. That's what you do. That's what it's like to cook. It's not a craft. You didn't go to a Hobby Lobby and buy a box of bracelets and beads and you're making bracelets for your besties. You made me dinner.
Let me explain. I haven't done anything for a little while that fills my my artsy outlet. And so I had to turn this box of groceries into a fun project, and it gets my artistic side out. So if anybody's ever had a box of food show up, one, it's amazing because you don't have to go to the grocery store, which I hate going to the grocery store, and everything is already measured and comes in little tiny packages. The seasonings, your meat is already, everything's measured and prepared and like comes in little packages. So I dump out the box. I have all these little packages. I chop a few things, mix a few things. And the funnest part about it is that I'm cooking with things I've never, ever bought in a grocery store, like fennel. Like who buys fennel?
Like fennel?
I'm chopping it up. It smells like, I think I'm going to ruin this soup last night. I'm chopping it up. It smells like black licorice.
Wait. You love this because you're cooking with ingredients you've never cooked before, like fennel.
Like fennel. Who buys fennel?
I've bought fennel before.
I didn't even know what it was.
This was gonna be my wildest story actually, because it was so funny to just watch Connie. Like, it's like literally if you have kids or if you've gone to Hobby Lobby and bought an arts and crafts box, it's like, this is Connie making dinner.
And they send you a nice little picture, a little beautiful. Mine wasn't as beautiful as this photo.
It was delicious.
Yeah,
I have to say, it was yummy.
Thank you. I actually feel like a chef now, and it's all organic. So I feel like I can't go wrong.
Because you don't have time to go to the grocery store.
No
you don't have
time.
time to chop everything up on your own.
No, I barely have time to get my nails done and get to my massage on time.
Gosh, what it would be like to be a lady of leisure.
I think, okay, so Whitney and I actually had a nail appointment back to back, and I think it kind of said everything about us. So if you could see us in person right now, like day after our nail appointment, I have like 2-inch long nails. You know, for the holidays, you got to get long nails. And Whitney has stubby nails. So this is lady who doesn't work. This is lady who types all day. Lady of leisure and the working woman.
Yes. Well, I had on really long nails like that for BravoCon, but I had to cut them off because I literally wanted to throw my laptop at the wall because I could not type.
Yeah.
Like, it would take me about 10 times as long to type a sentence, and I was getting so many typos, and it was like the most frustrating thing. So I had to go back to
They're still beautiful.
working mom hands. Lady of leisure. Oh, someday
Listen.
I'll be able to have long nails and go to massage appointments and
It's
all
a
of that
rough
again.
life.
It
It's
is a
really
rough
rough.
life. You earned it though. You
did.
raised your kids already.
I did. I worked. I owned businesses. I did all of it too.
Yep.
So I did.
But now I have you. We're doing a podcast together.
Yes.
So is this work or is this fun?
I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun. It's just fun for me.
We're excited today. We have a very special guest, someone that means so much to me. Her name is Heidi Lund from the Family Support Center. So when we come back from the break, we will get to meet and talk with Heidi.
I'm really excited to hear her story.
It's a good one. So after the break, we'll be introducing Heidi Lund. Hi, Wild Ones. Welcome back from the break. We are so excited to have the beautiful Heidi Lund with us. Heidi is one of the most amazing women that I've ever met. I'm so excited to have her on the podcast. So thank you so much for being here today, Heidi.
Thank you for having me. This is an awesome experience.
Yes. So I just want to let everyone know, I met Heidi just a few years ago, but I became familiar with Family Support Center about three years ago. It's actually back when I had Iris and Bo.
Yes.
I was talking to whoever was doing your social media at
Yes.
the time, and you had reached out to see if I would donate a package for a raffle.
Yeah.
And that was the best decision I've ever made because it got me involved in Family Support Center and meeting Heidi. And Heidi, I don't think she really understands the impact that she's had on my life.
I'm gonna start crying already. Sorry. It means a lot.
Yeah, because I met Heidi. I was just dropping off some product, or I was
You were donating to our Mother's Day event.
Yes.
So I house a lot of moms, and you brought us your products to use in our gift baskets to them.
Yes. And I got to meet Heidi. She gave me a tour of what she's going to explain later, the Life Start Village. And at the time, I had no idea why I was so drawn to Family Support Center, the Life Start Village, and Heidi herself. This was before I really started diving into my own personal childhood traumas, but I just knew I was drawn to it and I was there for a reason and it was the right path for me. So fast forward like a year or two, I had someone in my life that I was trying to get out of a situation and trying to get them into the Life Start program. And so that's where I really got to know Heidi and hear her story. And she was such a big resource and help for me, helping myself and helping this other person. And what Heidi doesn't know is her story and just who she is and her bravery and what she has overcome and how like powerful and strong she is inspired me to finally come forward with what I had been stuffing so deep my entire life.
It's a freeing feeling, huh?
Yes, it is.
I went through for a very long time without talking about my own story. And I remember going to sleep every night and it was hard to go to sleep because I had so much on my chest. And once I was able to talk about that and use it to empower other people, like I can fall asleep at the drop of a dime now. So, but it's a huge part of what got me into this field.
Yeah, so I don't know. I would love to just, if you don't mind, just share your story and like just tell your story and how you got into Life Start and all of that.
So I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, just like a lot of people. At a young age, my dad was killed. He actually got electrocuted while he was working. And my mom turned to drugs to cope with his loss. It's actually a really common thing that people do. It's just not talked about a lot. So my mom started using drugs. I have an older brother, and me and him have the same dad, and then I have two younger siblings that have a different dad. After my dad passed away, my two younger siblings went and lived with their real dad, and then my brother went and lived with my grandparents. And so I stayed with my mom.
How old were you?
When my dad died?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was about 5 years old, 4 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah. He was killed, and there was a big lawsuit that took place because he was building homes at the time, and the electricity lines were left on. And so there was a cover-up back in the day, and so there was lots of stuff that went with it. But when my dad died, my mom, it's almost like she kind of stopped growing up from that age. She stayed at that young age, and she turned to drugs, and I went on that path with her. And so I grew up in that lifestyle. That was kind of the normal life that I lived, and I truly didn't know there was another way to live because everyone around me lived in dysfunction too.
So saying that, do you mean like you started using drugs too?
Yeah, I was a full-blown meth addict by the age of 12.
Wow.
12?
12 years old.
Because it was around.
Yeah, it wasn't an uncommon thing, so I had to grow up at a really young age just because it was me and my mom. Yeah. Like, I wanted to hang out with her. I wanted her attention. And I don't say that like I'm hating on my mom or any judgment, because now after working through a lot of things I realized that she did the best she could with the skills that she had, because she also came from a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And so once I realized that, that was a huge release, because I always had someone to blame for my own actions until I realized that she did what she could.
Yeah. She was living the only life she knew how.
Yep. And so my mom ended up going to prison when I was about 14, and I ended up going back out on my own.
Wait, you lived alone at 14?
I did.
You didn't go into like foster care?
No.
Or?
So when my dad got killed, we got Social Security from him dying. I was very mature in the wrong ways, but I did just kind of start selling drugs, and I dropped out of school and continued that path for a long time.
Wow.
And where were you living?
I actually had an apartment.
At 14?
Yeah, I hate saying it out loud, but yeah, I did.
It's a lucrative business.
Yeah. And it was what's crazy explaining it is I didn't know what I was doing was different.
Right.
That's what I want to go back to, is like, that was just what I grew up with. Mm-hmm. Like, I did see other things. Like, I remember when people would ask me what my mom would do for a living, I had told everyone that she worked at AT&T. It was just one of those.
Made it up.
I said it for so long that I almost believed that she worked at AT&T, because that's just what I said. I didn't want to say my mom sold drugs.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of followed in those footsteps for a long time, got in a really unhealthy relationship, lots of abuse. But I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter when I was 22. as much as I'd say I quit drugs and everything, but that wasn't the case. And so I continued to use drugs and had my son 2 years later. And due to my careless actions, my son ingested meth, and he literally almost died from those actions. And
How old was he?
He was 1. Oh, wow. Yep. But I go back to, like, with all these skills, like, I didn't have any of the skills. I had never learned anything different besides that life. Mm-hmm. So it was so easy to justify why certain things happened. And it took me a really long time to say, that's what got me into the system with my son. And so I say it now because I know there's other people have went through that. Mm-hmm. And I used to be ashamed of it, but it also, at the same time, created the person I am now. Because if I didn't go through those experiences and I didn't grow up with that childhood, I would never be where I'm at. Like, I'm literally employed because of my story.
Yeah.
And as soon as I stopped being ashamed of it and I could use it in a way to empower people, then that's when the real stuff happens. Like, I have a bad criminal record, but that also gave me the job to help other people with a criminal record.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, my abuse situations also gave me the skills to help other people that's been abused.
Yeah, because you could understand
Yeah.
on their level.
So I used to be ashamed of it, and now it's just like, there's some part, if I ever leave out a part, you never know who it could affect. So.
Yeah, wow.
So empowering. And it's like what I love what you've taught me just by sharing your story is it's kind of that saying of, and correct me if there's a better way to say this, but like hurt people. You just don't know
100%.
any better. Like if we're born into these different cycles and that's just the way life is for so long for families or people. And I know that to be true in my family, just, you have to break the cycle. And like, I don't think you should be ashamed of anything. You didn't know any better. And in fact, I'm like listening at 14, you were like,
I was pretty successful.
Yeah, you were successful
like.
running, you did what you needed to do to stay alive and support your family. And it has led you now to running this beautiful program.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like during my journey of getting sober and stuff like that, once my kids were removed from me from my drug addiction and all that stuff happened with my son.
Is that when they were removed after
Yes.
the scare with your son?
Yeah. So once that happened, he was in the hospital for a long time. And it's the first time I personally, as an adult, had the DCFS system involved. As a child, they would come a lot to my home, but I was always taught what to do to get them to leave. I always knew what was to say because I had this image of like, do you never want to be part of this family again? Or they're going to take you forever, or they were this horrible organization. And so when they first got involved with me, my first instinct was to lie, to manipulate, to tell them everything they wanted to hear, to get them to leave. And yeah, they ended up saving my life in the long run. It might not have happened the first time, but yeah. So like they got removed my children, and I had this whole team all of a sudden coming to support me. They're like, they did tell me what I needed to do, but sometimes people need that direction a little bit.
Did your kids go with foster for a little bit?
So what happened is they were removed from me, and when your kids are removed, they take them to you don't really know where they're going, and then they have a shelter hearing. So within 72 hours, they have to be placed somewhere. So my two youngest sisters stepped up to the plate, and my middle sister, Nicole, ended up taking my kids. The hard part about that is they may not be using drugs, but they're still from dysfunction. Mm. So my sister, Nicole, handed me my kids right back.
Oh.
So I didn't know what I was fighting for a long time, because I had all these people telling me, well, don't you want your kids? But I did have my kids.
Oh, wow.
Behind the scenes. And so it took
I wonder how often that happens. I've never...
More than you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
I've never even thought of that happening, but now it makes total sense that could happen, like, probably in a lot of families.
Yeah.
Well, because you're always just putting a Band-Aid on it. Yeah. You're not really fixing the root of the problem, right?
Well, and nobody ever asked me, like, hey, Heidi, do you want to be a mom? Like, as much as I love my kids, that they weren't planned. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I love my kids, and I would never trade anything now. But that's not something that I just went into looking to have 2 kids with somebody that wouldn't help me support them. But I loved my kids. And so when they came to me and they're like, hey, Heidi, you have 6 months or we're going to stop reunification. And it finally kind of lit a flame under me, like what I was doing. And
Who's they?
DCFS. Yeah. So I always say they, but yeah, it was DCFS. And I finally, what they don't tell you behind the scenes to get into these treatment facilities and stuff is in order to go to treatment, you have to have a clean UA. And getting that clean UA is probably the hardest part to get in the door.
What's a UA?
You pee in it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah, like a drug
I don't
test,
know.
right?
Okay.
It's a drug test.
You pee
Like a
your urine
urinary-
sample,
Yeah, so you have
Analysis.
to, yeah, so you get an assessment from the state. They assess
Okay.
you at what level of care you need. And the weird thing is when I got that assessment, I was first assessed 2-day treatment. And I had like sat with myself for a minute and like, if I'm really going to do this to get my kids back, I'm a master manipulator. I manipulate myself when I don't even mean to.
Well,
Like,
that's what you learned from.
yeah, so
young
it
age,
just
yeah.
came so natural. And so, but there was something right then that told the ladies, like, I need residential. And so I ended up going into residential at House of Hope the first time. But the thing about it is I went for everyone else. I went because I didn't want to be the person that lost their kids to the state. I went because I wanted my children's father to love me. I went because I didn't want people to have an image of me. That because I had this personality that if everything looked good on the outside, I could avoid what was going on the inside. And it's something I learned from my mom is because with her selling drugs is we did have nice things. So no one ever realized what was going on behind those things. And so I lived this false reality for so long. And like I was a natural liar because I was always trying to cover up the next thing to protect this life that I lived with my mom. And so when I got into that treatment center, I did it for everyone else. I was in residential for 9 months. I didn't get my kids back. I graduated family recovery court through the state. But as soon as I was done with all that, and all of that support was gone, I had nowhere to live. So what happens is that's a huge thing when you're leaving treatment is housing. So when I left there, I went and stayed back with my family. And as much as I didn't want to use drugs, it just happens.
Yeah.
Like you adapt to your situation. And so I ended up going out really, really hard back into my addiction. And in 2 years, I caught 12 felonies. We were homeless. I dragged my kids through the dirt.
How old were your kids during this period of time?
My daughter was 5, 4 or 5, and my son was 3.
Just little.
3. Yep, and
And when you say homeless, were you living like in your car?
I didn't even have a car at this point. We lost it all. I say that jokingly because I wish that was the case. But I was like living in hotels. I sold drugs. And that's where I always would revert to because I knew that's how I could take care of us. Like that's one skill I have is like I know how to survive.
Yep.
And I refuse. Like it's one of those things. But it's also my worst enemy because I know I will always go back to that if I go into that mode again.
Right. And it's like what I've learned with, because I have my dad who's been rehab, sober living. My older sister is in rehab right now for meth. Yeah. She was sober 8 years and went back. It's your environment.
Yeah.
It's that
100%.
trigger. It's that trigger of comfort. And it's the same thing for everything, drugs, alcohol, food. I'm learning, like, you have to learn how to remove yourself from that environment and that trigger.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to trigger
No.
you. That's the hard part. Is like, and you never know what comes in people's lives that can trigger a different moment to remember. And so,
What is your advice, like recognizing triggers? How do you know it's a trigger?
if it makes you feel some type of way, uncomfortable in your body, that you want to avoid it or you want to deflect, you don't want to talk about it, that's a trigger. If it gives you that feeling where you need to do something to take your mind off of that or to avoid it, trigger. One thing I do know though is if you don't entertain that trigger, it does go away within about 30 seconds.
And how do you do that?
So you have to coping skills. They talk about a lot of this fluffy stuff when you're in treatment and I didn't really know, but like I get triggered for me personally. My recovery, I do not drink or use drugs. I was never an alcoholic in my addiction, but I know I would become an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I get triggered to drink though because it's so socially acceptable. Okay, that's how people date. That's how like people go out. And so
We do it on our podcast.
I wish I was.
Right.
It never ends well with me.
No.
I'll end up in handcuffs. That's how the difference between us.
We got your back, girl. There's no alcohol.
Well, that's such good self-awareness. And I think
Yes.
that's important to know yourself enough that, this isn't going to be good for me.
Yeah.
And,
I don't
to
get
honor
uncomfortable
that.
with this stuff
Yeah.
because I already do. Like if I felt uncomfortable, I probably wouldn't even have been here. I'm going to assess myself in the morning, like what kind of environments that I'm going to deal with. If I know I've had really high stressful situations, I'm probably not going to answer my phone to anyone because I'm going to get really mean.
Just once again,
Yeah, so
self-awareness.
it's just my
yourself.
self-awareness. And it's like before I put myself in certain situations, I can automatically play the tape through as like, I know where this will go if I choose another option.
Yeah.
It never ends well. So that's for me. And so,
How did you get involved with the family help or the family support center?
so the second time I went to treatment,
Yeah.
so I ended up doing all those crimes and all that when I left House of Hope the first time. But the one thing that I did learn is where to go if I needed help. And so I started calling House of Hope again 2 years after I had graduated and just talking to him like, hey, I really want to do something different. Nobody's telling me I need to come here. I want to come here, and this is what I want to learn. The hardest part was getting that clean UA again. And so I kept going to jail, kept catching charges, just running amok.
Just repeating the cycle, right?
Yeah. And it's crazy because that life's comfortable. Like, that's comfortable to me. So,
What do they call that? Comfort in the chaos.
Yeah.
Your brain literally learns to be comfortable in chaos.
that's why people will create it if there's
Yeah.
nothing going
Yep.
on. So I ended up going to jail, and they're like, roll up, Lund, on my 29th day in there, and it was House of Hope to pick me up.
Oh.
And I remember from that day forward, like walking in the doors at treatment, everyone stands at the top of the stairs waiting for that UA. Everyone, you have to pee in the cup and get it clean to get in the doors. And I had some people walking past me, and they're like, why are you smiling? I'm like, because I've never been so happy to be somewhere.
Oh, wow.
And I can truly mean that. And it sounds crazy. And like, I'm not saying everything's sunshine and rainbows, but it's been easy for me after that because I've wanted something different so bad. And so when I went to treatment that second time, I went in there and I'm like, this is what I need you to teach me to do. I need you to teach me how to keep myself safe in unsafe circumstances because they're always going to be there. I need you to teach me how to stay and hold boundaries with my mom because she will be a part of my life. I need you to teach me how to hold other people accountable because their actions affect me. And so I went in there with this whole list of things like what I needed to learn because I knew what I needed to do to stay sober. And so I went to treatment for those 9 months, and I left that program, and I was still homeless because I had never had any job skills. But I did get some assistance from the road home, and they got me into an apartment, and they paid my first 3 months' rent. The hard part about that is once that help's gone, I never had the skills to maintain that rent. I had never had a job that paid me money enough to pay rent. And back then it was like $800. It wasn't even a lot compared to where we are now. And so I heard about a program called the Family Support Center, Life Start Village. And I remember going there to do a tour, and I was just in awe, like that something like this existed. And I could bring my kids there. And so I moved there almost 11 years ago, and I still live there.
Really?
Yeah, but I have now been the director for the past 4 years.
That's amazing.
The one cool thing about that program is anyone can start there as long as you have kids that are under the age of 12, and you have to be a single parent.
Yeah, will you explain what Life Start is? Because it is one of the coolest programs, and I had no idea. I don't think people realize there's resources like that out
I had
there.
no idea, and that's what's so cool about like when I ended up being the director there. That's why I wanted to be there, because it's such a unique program. But Life Start Village is a self-sufficiency program for single parents. So our whole goal there is when families come in, they get first 90 days just to assess where they're at. So we take women coming from domestic violence, homelessness, substance abuse, leaving polygamy, any walks of life. People can come to us from different states.
So to be clear, this is moms and dads. This is
Single moms and single dads.
not just for women. It's okay.
Yeah, the single dad thing is not a huge hit.
Yeah.
We do have one in our program currently. I wish there was more, just because I love the kids to see a positive male role model, because there's only about 3 out of the 80 kids that live there that still have a positive male role model in their life. So it's something that I really like to work on. But they can come to us and they can stay with us for about 5 years, if not more. So they start in phase 1, and it's a co-housing setting, and we provide everything they need. We have 2 and 3 bedroom apartments that are fully furnished. And once they come into us, we just do an assessment and just meet their basic needs at first. And then we'll start working on job skills, resume building, parenting classes, I have a class that's called How Not to Date a Jerk.
Everyone needs that.
Sometimes we're the jerk. And just getting their kids stable. So it's our village.
Where's it located at?
So we are a private location. It's something. No,
I guess
you're
you
good.
probably can't. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I didn't think of that.
A lot of the time,
Yeah.
these people are escaping from their
Yeah.
abuse.
Right.
So we get people,
Makes sense.
moms, like I had a mom move there, coming from a different state, fleeing domestic violence. We truly, our model is it takes a village. I have it posted everywhere because their biggest resource is each other. They're all coming from the same kind of things, and their all mission is to be self-sufficient. And it looks so different in this day and age.
Phase 1 is all about just like basic human needs and feeling safe and feeling secure and loved, because you don't realize that some people have never felt that before.
Yeah, and it's super uncomfortable for some people that come in. And the one thing that brings me joy and just exciting, what really impacted my family just still to this day, is I grew up in a home that didn't celebrate any traditions. Like we didn't eat together as a family. We didn't walk to school, or your parents didn't walk to school, or go to parent-teacher conference, or certain things like that, or cook dinner, turn on music, make it fun. Like those are some stuff that I didn't grow up with. Like it was very
Just
weird.
these simple things that we take for granted, I guess. Yeah.
And so one of my biggest thing is everybody has a cook night once a week, and they get to cook for the rest of their house. And we are learning life skills, and the fire alarm goes off a lot. But the food is edible. Okay.
And explain that, like they're required to learn how to do everything from the shopping, the planning, the recipe, the cooking,
The budgeting.
cleanup.
Everything. So everyone that comes in knows that they need to budget, just depending on how many people are in the house. But they're cooking for around 17 to 25 people a night.
Wow.
Yeah. And then every other night that they come home with their children, they have a meal ready. So I'm really big on keeping a routine there to keep our kids as much structure as possible, because they haven't had that. So when you get that many kids in one building together, you need as much structure as possible without making everyone go crazy.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to share kind of how it's set
Yeah.
up? Like how they have like rooms, their own like apartments, and then the kitchen and family room is shared.
Oh.
So it's
So
called,
it's-
it's co-housing.
Okay.
Co-housing. Yeah, it's really, there's like a really sweet vibe there.
So that's my biggest, is that's their home. They can stay in phase 1 for up to 2 years. And they have to just be meeting different goals. So
There's different phases that they go through, and then ultimately they have the skills that they need. They're set up to be able to go out in the world and do it on their own. And
I mean, if the world could calm down a little bit, it would be a lot easier for us to make that more successful, because since COVID, it's been extremely hard to keep one mission in mind. But now my biggest thing is anyone that comes in the facility, I want them to overcome barriers that would stop them from being housed successfully without us. So we do an assessment with them. We pull their credit immediately, and really get into, like, do you have evictions? Do you have bad credit? Do you have people that are going to come and garnish your checks? That could prevent them from staying housed.
yeah.
So that's what we're going to work on immediately.
Yeah.
But when the program was open in the very beginning, 19 years ago, the end goal was to purchase a home. And so for me, I was one of the last people to purchase a home there on property. And that was in 2018. And so I own my house. I live there. I'm embedded. Even when I'm off, I'm not off. But
Yeah.
it's part of the program. And as much as I like to complain about it sometimes, like I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah.
Because my kids still are growing up there. That's still my son's neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, and those are still his friends. And that's how I want all the kids to be. Like when I grew up, I lived at the village. I don't ever want them to look at it as a place that they have to be, because there is a lot of hard rules. Since we are a private location, they can't have their friends come over. They have to, like, there's certain things to keep everyone safe. And so I try to make up with that stuff with different things. Like we're going to make amazing memories. So most of our children attend therapy there, working through their trauma. And I'm a firm believer you can do all the therapy in the world, but if you don't have some better memories to erase the old ones, then how do you get through it?
Absolutely.
So I'm big on traditions and celebrating holidays. We celebrate every holiday, even Flag Day, because they don't have to do chores.
Yeah. That's something to be excited about. I celebrate every little thing I can in life. Life's too short not to.
Yeah, and that's the funnest thing there is we house anywhere about 125 clients at a time with their children. And I only have 2 other staff.
Wow.
So there's 3 of us, and we love to, just like I said, love to complain because it's chaos, but we make it work.
And the day that I spent with you touring the facility, there's so many things that you do. Like you said, the first thing is let's get anything that's going to come after you, essentially, like, right? And then you have resources through the government that, like, we don't really realize we have, like therapy.
We do everything. So we immediately, if someone comes into us, we get them set up with any kind of services that they need to be stable. So if they don't have insurance, we'll get them insurance. If they don't have any kind of food assistance, we're going to get you set up on some food assistance. Definitely, if you have no income whatsoever, we're going to get you some financial assistance. And I say that in a way because I want them to have the end goal of to not need those when they leave. So let's utilize these services that the state provides for the right reasons. Let's utilize them so you can get on your feet. So we get them set up with those resources, but then after 90 days of being there, they need to start looking for a job. And then we're going to keep asking them to look for a better job. Or if they want to go to college, we're going to support that 100%. So I try to keep the program as 5 years, but if you're in college, you can stay till you're done.
Oh, that's awesome.
So different incentives. And it doesn't have to be college, trade schools, anything that will help you provide a stable home for your kids. And I really emphasize the portion of them staying single, because a lot of people come to us from unhealthy relationships. And I believe that if I can get them to at a place where they're okay to be alone, they're going to stop settling for unhealthy relationships. They're going to know what they bring to the table.
Because that codependency is removed.
Yeah, like phase 2, they have their own apartment. They can come and go as they please. They don't have as many rules. They still have rules. Like, we're still working on the next goal. Just more independence. But it takes a village.
What I love about it is they're literally restarting someone's life from the basic fundamentals.
Cleaning, everything.
And you don't realize how, like, I'm trying not to get emotional, but, like, how necessary that is. Like, you look at a lot of people that we know, you don't even realize how many people have been in situations and they're just coping. And like Heidi said, on the outside, they look like they're completely fine.
Yeah.
But on the inside,
it's miserable.
A complete mess. And, but throughout the process, right? Like, I love how walking through the phases, you have phase 1, phase 2, and then you have the homes that women, or mostly women, right, have bought. And
that's how it works, is because every day you come home, you're looking at your next goal.
I love that.
So the setup for it is everyone starts in phase 1, and that's at the very end of the property. But when you pull in, you see phase 3, phase 2, phase 1. So you can never lose sight of that goal.
That's amazing.
And so, and everyone asks me, like, how does it work? It's that. It's the setup around it. It's the support. And regardless if they are struggling or I'll never let them quit. You can tell me 100 things why you can't do something. I'm going to find the one reason you can. Because it's easy, especially when that's what's comfortable. Yeah. So.
And do you think that the way that you were brought up taught you that resilience, and now you're using it in a positive way?
So I had one of my therapists tell me, she's like, Heidi, you're a master manipulator. And she's like, you don't even know you're doing it. And she's like, if you could just switch that thinking for something positive, she's like, you'll do amazing things.
Look what you're doing.
And that's where it's like, I take it all the time. It's like, and I still talk to her to this day. She's someone I really, really look up to, and she inspires me. But now I get to work with her on a professional level. And it's crazy. Once I was vulnerable and was open about my own history, the doors that opened. Like, I didn't get a lot of judgment. I still see a little bit from people because I never went to college or anything like that. And people will say, well, why don't you go to college? I'm like, because I watched me do it anyway. Like, I know if I want something bad enough that it will happen.
Yeah. And I heard you say basically, like, you went through all the, different treatments and trying to get on your feet. But once you were out there and the assistance went away, you went back to these old patterns. But what changed in you was when you decided you wanted it for you.
I stopped keeping the secrets.
Yeah.
Like, I got real vulnerable real quick. And then after so long of just doing it, and like, so now I've been clean and sober for over 10 years. And now it's just like this natural high that you get from helping other people. Like, that's my motivation. That's my next drug, is I want to see someone succeed.
So inspiring.
Because it just lights something. I'm like, I know you can do it. And they get so sick of me talking to them, some of these ladies. But I'm like, I need you to do something to fill my bucket. Like, because it's been
I'm
a rough week.
selfishly doing this for me too.
So it's an awesome experience. So
And there's a lot of resources within Family Support Center and the Life Start Village that's just not residential, right?
no, we have a lot of different services. So we have 4 programs under the umbrella of the Family Support Center. So we have the Crisis Nurseries, which is an amazing program. And I think that's what started us in 1977. But what that is there's 3 centers around Salt Lake. We have one in West Valley, one in Midvale, and then one in Sugar House. And our whole mission with that is to prevent child abuse. So if you are a stressed parent, you want to go grocery shopping without your 3 kids, you want to go to an interview, but you have no one to watch your kids, anything that would prevent you from doing that, we will take your kids.
I had no idea there was anything like that.
Yeah. So it's called it's like respite services. You can utilize this multiple times without any questions asked. It's free. And the kids have so much fun.
I bet.
Yeah. So like if you just need a mommy break, you want to go on a date without questions asked, call us. It's really fun. We also have a clinical team that serves people with Medicaid or low income. We can do a sliding scale fee with that. We have an amazing clinical team, and they will see kids over 7 years old, all the way up to adults. And then we have a respite program where anyone that's adopted a child through the state, we have an amazing lady that will go in their home and provide them respite care for all of their children. So she can go up there for like 6 to 8 hours a night, just so the parents can get a break and hang out with your kids.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then we have Life Start. So I have 38 apartments on this property, 2 and 3 bedroom units. They're fully furnished, and we work on life skills.
And what if anyone's listening and they're in an abusive situation or in a situation like me where you've gone through something traumatic and you need help to work through it. Is there a number they can call? What would be the first step for someone?
The first step is definitely just being open and wanting it. It's a huge thing. And please reach out to us. We are thefamilysupportcenter.org. Once you go to our website, there's lots of different options on what you're needing help with. Or if you don't really know what you need help with, just call. Our number's right there. And Pat's amazing secretary, and she can kind of direct you with what kind of services. But we usually have something for everybody. And I don't ever want someone to feel like they can't leave a relationship because they don't have anything. Because there is places. Like I can provide everything that you need if you just want to leave. And so I know that is a huge barrier for people. Like, well, I have nothing. How am I going to get my kids to school? All you need to figure out is how to get there. We can help you with the rest.
So beautiful. And what are some things that I know we're going to talk after this about how we can help out this month? You're doing a big campaign this month.
Yeah. So it's Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's Giving Tuesday. Just a little bit about us is we are a nonprofit. So we have those 4 different programs. Life Start for Village, for instance, we completely stay open by private donations and grants. We are completely run off of that. A few years back, there was some stuff that went on with the Housing First model, and we had decided to stay with how we run our program because we know that it works and we're seeing success. So we chose not to take some of the funding that was out there because we wanted to stick with what we were doing. And so we raise all of it every year. So yeah.
So what are some what are the biggest resources that you need help with? Like what's the hardest part of running the organization and how people could help or what we could bring attention to or awareness to? Definitely
is just our overhead, just keeping us open is our biggest goal because we can make anything work. So always keeping our the overhead paid is the biggest thing. But we are always needing bringing a mom in from a different state or anything like that. So I can house a mom for 1 month for $500. Wow. And she can have up to 5 kids.
Wow.
So
money donations is
always
the
helps.
biggest.
And another big thing is we set up everything that they need for their apartment. So all of our apartments have twin size beds, dressers, a couch. So anything that would to fit in that. So my biggest thing is any kid that comes in there, I want to give them a new bed set. Mm-hmm. So twin size comforters, bed in the bags, huge hit. They are huge hit. anything to set up an apartment.
I just did that for my son in college, and there's a lot of things that you don't think of. But
So we provide everything down to the silverware.
yeah,
For them. Just donations like that we're always looking for. We always like boots and coats. We provide for 80-something kids at a time. So any of those donations we'll never return them away. So, but yeah, just definitely our overhead. I always try to keep some kind of funds for people that are fleeing domestic violence because we are a small organization and we will never charge over $500 a month for rent for anyone that comes into that facility because we don't want it to be not doable. And so
it's a lot of information,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of amazing things that you guys do. That's
Well, and it's all like tied back to like who you are and your bravery to share your story.
And maybe next year, one of my clients will. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want to empower them. I don't want them to ever be embarrassed about where they came from.
right.
And because you never know, like, it created my career.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, that's where, and I never would have thought in the moment. So, but yeah, I would love more facilities like ours. We have a waiting list of over 50 families just waiting to get in there. Oh, wow. And so there's a huge need for it.
Yeah.
Do you have
Especially
room?
after the pandemic, right?
Yeah, that was an uphill battle.
Do you have room to expand your housing where you're at, or would you have to do?
No, we've actually, and I hate saying this, but we've actually had to get rid of some of it due to funding and cut back because we are a small organization with Life Start Village, and we're the only program like us. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to compare it to. And so when I go out there and ask for different funding sources, I don't have a big old program to preach to them. Nobody usually even hears about us, but we like it that way because we can keep people safe.
Yeah.
But it almost hinders us on staying open.
And if anyone's listening that's nationwide, not here in Utah, they can still donate on the website, correct?
Yes, they definitely can. Or if they know anyone that needs assistance, they are more than welcome to reach out. I can move someone in without them even coming to the state until they're ready to be here. Wow. So definitely that portion. But yeah, you can donate we have QR codes, all kinds of stuff on the website.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
The fun thing about this is it's an ongoing conversation.
Okay, that's what's
I
cool.
mean, we just really appreciate you taking the time to come today.
Yeah.
I know you're very busy running Life Start.
It's really nice to get a different feel. Like, you guys are awesome. I felt really honored when I was asked to come out here. Like, I think this says a lot about you.
Well, you really inspired me.
I know, and you inspired me. You got a cool life.
Yeah, and it's been rough, like just because my situation's not yours, mine's different.
But it doesn't mean it makes you feel any
No,
different.
but when you're working through abuse, especially in my situation where I blacked it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a lot of it, but specifics and things like that, it didn't start coming out until my 30s. I'm 36. And at like 32, I started losing my hair. I started having like all these unexplained health problems. Like by 36, I've had 5 colonoscopies. And my body was shutting down because I was holding on to this. And I had no idea why I kept coming back to you. Well, I do. It's your energy. It's your story. And I just kept you've just been really important in my life because going to the Life Start Village just to visit and drop off gifts and then trying to get someone I love there really made me say, okay, just because I have this big life, I have a business, I have a successful family, I've broken the cycle from abuse with my children, but now I have to deal with my shit.
Don't avoid it. But what's going to come with you is what's going to be really exciting because you're going to be able to be freer than ever. And so you're going to present to people differently.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it until you start going through it like this.
Yeah, I was in that I can breathe mode, and then now it's all airing, and I'm getting all this. I'm having to go through it again, and it's really challenging because you've probably know this from therapy and everything.
Yeah.
Your body sometimes doesn't know the difference between living the trauma and reliving it.
It's going to affect you the same way.
Yeah, it's still gives me the same anxiety feeling, but I'm just so grateful that you've taught me how to do this, and I now know where my resources are, and I'm on the other side. It's
And
still
just remember-
hard, but I'm on the other side, and it's because of you and that day that I met you at Life Start.
Thank you. And just remember, it's none of your business what people think of you.
It's none of my business what people think of me.
Yeah. And how dare somebody tell you how to feel?
Can I just call you every morning? Can I do my assessments with you?
So I do it so it's all written on my mirror in my bathroom, because I used to really struggle with judgment on me. Like, I felt people thought I was living a fake life and stuff like that because I would talk about this, and and it was my own stuff. Like, I didn't want anyone to judge me. And my sponsor that I work with, and every time when I go to call her or to bitch about something, she's like, it's none of your business what people think of you, because you have no right to tell someone how to feel or think.
Wow.
And one person's trauma, it looks different to the next person. It's all about how your body takes it. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, something that I lived with, like growing up like that, wasn't really traumatizing because that was my norm.
Yeah.
But to someone that never came from a life like that and then stepped into one, that's going to be extremely traumatizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't get to tell someone how they react to it. Like, you just don't.
I love that advice.
Yeah, that is great advice. I'm going to write that on my mirror.
That's what I do. I'm
Me
like,
too.
it's none of my business.
Yeah.
And I say it all day long.
It's none of our business. It's none of our business. It's none of our business.
And they're probably struggling with stuff themselves
Yeah.
because it's easy to deflect. Right?
Right.
I'd rather know what's going on bad with you than me.
Right. And that's why I just love spending this time with you, because you are a woman of raising up other women's voices and other people's voices. But thank you so much.
No, thank you for having
spending
me.
the time.
Yeah.
That was such a great conversation. And we will include in the description and the link of this podcast where you can find familysupportcenter.org and how you can get involved, if you need help. It'll all be in the description of this podcast, and we'll share the link on all of our social medias and on our YouTube channel.
Yes. Thank you so much. And if you ever want to donate, you know where we're at.
Yes. Welcome back to the Wild Rose podcast. How amazing is Heidi Lund?
Gosh, she was amazing. Her story is so inspiring.
She's such a beautiful person, and she means so much to me. But on a lighter note, we have our burning questions. And again, thank you to all of you wild ones who submitted questions. Just a reminder that if there's any questions you have, you can DM us, or any topics you want us, or any guests you want to hear on our podcast, let us know. But from Marissa, Marissa Issa, what was the most rewarding thing about opening up this season and the hardest? Honestly, the most rewarding is connecting with so many other amazing people who have been inspired to share their story with me or share their story with others. In fact, I was at the gym the other day, and a woman came up to me and she just said, I want you to know, after hearing your story, I finally told my friend about what happened to me when I was a child 3 days ago. And it just means so much that through all of the craziness, I am inspiring people, and people are inspiring me. And I think that connection with other people is truly what has been the most rewarding. And it's helped me stay on this other side of success and growth and healing. The hardest, on that note, the hardest has absolutely been the unexpected hate and doubt on social media. I feel like...
Which, can I say, I was just so shocked to hear that there was any hate when you're being so vulnerable and sharing something so deep in your life. Like, anyway, I don't know, it's social media, but...
Yeah, it was hard because it is my real life. Like,
Right.
I didn't want to share it. I've told this before. Like, I was really hesitant to share it because it is so deep and it is so painful, and it's hard to talk about. But I was not expecting the amount of hate on Twitter, Instagram comments. Like, it was almost paralyzing.
But was the hate, though, was it mainly because of all of the drama going on between you and Heather? Or do you think, or was it like directly because of what you were going through and what you were sharing and like?
I just think, though, I think it's where we're at in the world right now. I think that it's a heavy time, and it's like, that's just the name of the game on social media right now. Everyone is just a dark space. You keep hearing people saying, like, I'm getting off Twitter, like, I'm done with this. But I think it's everything. I'm on a show that is heavily based around drama, and when you're sharing your real life and being vulnerable about something that is deeply painful, like, to get hate for it is very unexpected. And it's really challenged my strength, and I'm just proud that I have the resources and I'm on this side of it to stay successful and not revert back to where I was just a year ago, right? So thank you so much, Marissa, Issa. And yes, you have another question, Marissa. We would love to have Ryan Bailey on our podcast. So Ryan, hit us up. Let us know when you want to come on. Of course, we'll have Ryan Bailey. Love Ryan. Okay, on to a lighter question.
I have one. I saw.
How many boob jobs do you have, Chad Shishi?
I know this particular Shad.
Chad Sheehy. How many boob jobs have you had? I personally have had 2. How many have you had, Connie?
Well, technically 3, but 4.
What does that mean? 3 but 4.
Well,
like,
on
you've
my
had
third one-
only one side done?
Well, no, on the last one, I had this weird thing happen called a seroma. It's like very rare, but you can get like a blister. And it was right before Ben and I got remarried. So one side was 200 cc's bigger than the other because I couldn't get it redone until after the wedding. Anyway, it was a mess, but yeah. So I had to go get my third one redone. It was like a revision. So 3, but 4.
3 but 4. So 4.
4. Okay, we'll say 4.
4.
Yeah, because I did
which
change
one
the
did you
side.
want to answer?
I wanted to ask.
Thank you, Chad, for the question. I've had 2. Connie's had 3 1/4.
Yeah, let's call it a quarter. This one's from Amakayx3. Amakay. Anyway, how'd you get Rihanna to follow you on here?
That's a good one. How did I miss that? Honestly, I don't know how I got Rihanna to follow me, but not only did I get her to follow me, she's commented on one of my posts, and I have exchanged a few DMs with her. So I don't know what I did, but I did something right.
She's a huge Housewife fan. I know that.
Yeah, she is a huge Housewife fan. She's a huge Salt Lake City fan. I know that she was a big fan of Bad Weather. And also, I love it because I'm a huge Rihanna fan. I grew up dancing and I coached American Fork High School Drill, and we did all of our numbers to Rihanna. Like, if any dancers out there know what Across the Floors are, all of my Across the Floors, it's training, were to Rihanna. I love Rihanna. I always listen to Rihanna when I get glammed. So maybe I just manifested.
Maybe.
Rihanna
You were
in my life.
so excited. I remember
Yeah.
the day that she commented, you were like, screenshot. Look, guys.
I was
Rihanna."
like freaking out because my gut reaction was like instantly take it to Twitter and Instagram. Like, look, but I was like, keep your chill, stay cool, stay cool. But I did. I sent it to all my friends, and I'm like, holy shit, Rihanna just followed me and commented.
It's amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you. Oh, and the other thing is, I did her Savage X Fenty. I was a ambassador for Savage X Fenty. So I think that
Which is what?
Rihanna's lingerie brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I just manifested her into my life, and I hope I continue to manifest her in my life.
So the question is, do we need to have a redo of our boudoir shoot with Rihanna's brand of
With Savage
lingerie?
X Fenty. Yeah. Yeah. So Rihanna, if you are listening, you are welcome to come on the Wild Rose podcast anytime. We would love to have you.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
But thank you, everyone. What a great episode. I hope that this reached anyone that it needed to. Thank you as always for listening along and subscribing to the Wild Rose podcast. We appreciate it, and we look forward to next week's episode. Bye, wild ones. Mwah.